Last time we went back to the 1940s, we covered Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator. This time it's Laurence Olivier's Hamlet, which won 4 Oscars on 7 nominations. I wouldn't say that the movie's aged too well. Connor, what do you think about that?
Compared to these other four gems, this is kind of a dull affair. And honestly, I don't see when it would be quite as exhilarating as the awards tend to reflect. I mean, this seems like it was always this.
Yeah, that's just right. And Hamlet, took home the big one. It's a film neither of us have seen, and actually neither of us had seen any of the Best Picture nominees. And you know what we went ahead and did? We watched them all.
Yes, we did.
Johnny Belinda got the most nominations with 12. That would be the 21st Academy Awards, and that's kind of where we're going to be living. Connor and I have certainly both been living in 1948, watching all these films, checking everything out. And Hamlet, we went in blind with all 5 of these, and Hamlet's the winner, and it's Laurence Olivier. He's looked at it as his, he's the director, the actor, won all these awards. It's the first non-Hollywood production to win Best Picture. That's a big deal after 2 decades of this going on. For that to be the first one is fascinating. And it's also the first time an individual directed himself in an Oscar-winning performance, and that's Laurence Olivier. So we're definitely going to be talking about Hamlet, the film itself, and Laurence Olivier, how this is kind of seen as his masterpiece artistically. I disagree as far as his performances go, but the man is doing a lot. And when you look at it now, it's so interesting because you might disregard some of these 1940s movies, but shit, man, those other 4 movies are really good.
Oh, they're groundbreaking. They, a lot of them were firsts in in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
And I feel like Hamlet it broke some new ground, but it's Shakespeare.
It broke ground after it came out, meaning it broke ground here at the Oscars.
Yeah.
But as far as the film itself is not breaking any ground. People have done these things and will continue to do them. There's so many Hamlet, adaptations, and we'll talk about those later and kind of make fun of some of them. But it's reused, recycled over and over and over. I mean, fucking Lion King, right? It's used in kids' stories. It's reused in adult stories. And these other 4 films are not only, really good, but they also were breaking ground while being made.
True. And Shakespeare appeals to certain people. Not everybody is going to enjoy Shakespeare. I don't personally enjoy Shakespeare.
It's, yeah.
And, but Olivier was known for his theatrical, gravitas and just his presence in the theater. And he brought that presence to the screen. And in many ways, Hamlet is seen as the real first big Shakespeare movie, 1948's Hamlet, because no one else had really done it on this scale before. No one had tried to bring these centuries old stories to the screen. And I admire that. But you gotta do something about it. You can't just bring it straight to the screen or else people are going to fall asleep, frankly. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, you kind of texted me while you were watching it last night, and you were kind of like, this is a little bit boring, and especially compared to the films you had just watched.
Yeah. Like, for example, I look at 2015's Macbeth. Justin Kurzel directed, Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard starred. That movie is phenomenal. Does a great job adapting the Shakespearean play Macbeth in this war-torn revenge thriller that is engaging from beginning to end. So there are ways to adapt Shakespeare and keep the soul of the story intact. I just don't think Olivier did that.
No, and the performance itself is, quite audacious, and the movie's definitely built on, a certain atmosphere and kind of psychologically speaking to, Hamlet's, mental breakdowns and whatnot. And it works to an extent, but this film is, 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
and you can only take so much, in my opinion, and your opinion as well. We both would give it a fat 7. Like it just, it doesn't work for that long, and it's kind of, it feels like it's almost stringing you out. You're like, oh man, like, are we going to continue to have this kind of facade and speak in this manner and always walk this way? It's very bizarre, and you forget you're in Denmark half the fucking time.
The funny thing about that is Olivier actually toned Hamlet down substantially because he cut out a lot, and it actually infuriated a lot of Shakespeare purists.
He cut out 2 huge characters. Yeah, he made massive decisions.
Yeah, I mean, Ethel Barrymore was the one who presented Best Picture that year, I think, and she was very much against Olivier's portrayal of Hamlet because her family, did the real story on the stage, and it blows my mind that this was controversial.
Yeah,
some people.
What was controversial then? Yeah, well, it is like it's him just kind of showboating, right? Laurence Olivier. It's just kind of, that's my main point is, the camera is very much just constantly in awe of him. He's the director, and 2.5 hours of that, it just kind of takes a toll on you. It's a bit exhausting. And whereas, again, these other 4 films, I'll just go ahead and name them now. Johnny Belinda, The Red Shoes, The Snake Pit, and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. All spectacular films I definitely will be watching, in the future again. And I can't say the same for Hamlet, which is on HBO Max. We stated that last week, so hopefully we have some listeners who, watch that and you're here with us on this journey. We went deep into 1948, man. We went real deep. And I also, kind of branched out and watched Ona, this Japanese film that was really cool that I enjoyed. Do you have any favorites from 1948 that maybe should have been up here at these Oscars? I know it's kind of hard with that. Our perspective, we're so young and we're talking about the 21st Academy Awards, but are there any that pop out?
There's one film that I have loved my entire life from 1948. I don't think it should have been up for any awards, but it is one of my all-time favorites. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Hell yeah.
1948, the second time Bela Lugosi played Dracula. Hard to believe he only ever played Dracula twice compared to, Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr., their respective characters. They played him a bunch of times, but Lugosi only ever played Dracula twice in the original film and in this, where it was really like the first big crossover movie where you've got Lugosi's Dracula, Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman, and then Glenn Strange plays Frankenstein's monster. But it's just watching these 2 bumbling idiots run into these monsters. And you've got a cameo at the end of Vincent Price playing the Invisible Man. It's such an enjoyable movie that it's been a part of my Halloween rotation literally my whole life. My grandparents showed it to me when I was a kid, and I never looked back. It's such a great movie. So funny, still hilarious. And it's just cool to see all those characters together,
Oh yeah, of course. So rewarding. That's part of why we watch movies, right? Is to see certain people and characters line up together. I can confidently say that Hamlet should be taken out of this group, and Drunken Angel by Akira Kurosawa should be in there.
Okay.
Awesome film that I think a lot of people would enjoy. Kurosawa is one of the most prolific filmmakers during his time. He just churned out a lot of really cool movies. Had some mental problems. Tried to take his own life at one point, and the man's just a brilliant artist. And I really couldn't suggest or recommend Drunken Angel anymore. It's an awesome film, and I really do think it's like of the caliber of these other 4, where it's really unique and really good and got some incredibly impactful scenes, whereas Hamlet just doesn't.
It really doesn't. It's just such a slog. The only part I really liked was the ending.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about some stuff. We are going to change up a bit of how the show works here on Oscar Sunday. As you could hear earlier, we're now working with Anchor.fm, and want to change some stuff up, not just with how we're distributing our podcast, but just kind of the process and the format of it. So, we're gonna change some stuff around, but we're still definitely gonna go through the categories that Hamlet was up for.
Yes.
And the ones that have won, which was 7. So this time we're going to have a little bit more to say than last week, which was Little Miss Sunshine, which had 4, but we kind of went all over the place, and that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
That's what we're going to continually do on this show. Next week, we're going to a completely different decade. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see. The first one that Hamlet, I guess, would be costume design right here, which this is the first year costume design was introduced at the Oscars. Fascinating that it took so goddamn long, but really cool. A movie I did watch recently that I'll have a review up is Gate of Hell, which won Best Foreign Language Film, got an honorary award in 1953, and also won Best Costume Design. And this is just a really cool category that I think we should shout out as much as we can. And I feel similarly to it as I would if there was a stunt category. It's just really important. It's really important. It's part of the way the movie just feels and moves.
Yeah, I agree. And this being the first year, there were only 2 films up for costume design, black and white, and then costume design color. They used to separate by color and black and white. So it was Hamlet and then BF's Daughter. And then best costume design color was The Emperor Waltz and the winner, Joan of Arc. And as far as costume design goes, yeah, Hamlet is pretty stellar. I mean, Shakespearean films and period films always knock it out of the park with costume design.
Yeah, you kind of have to, right? Otherwise the film will not work. It's famous for, as we do the show, we'll find out more and more how often you said, period pieces just kind of dominate this category. And Hamlet's definitely one that started that trend.
Yeah, for sure. Then we have art direction. Art direction black and white and art direction color. Once again, 2 apiece.
Stupid. Just if it's only 4, just put them all together, man. God.
So for black and white, we have Johnny Belinda versus Hamlet, and for color, we have Joan of Arc versus the Red Shoes. Nobody was taking production design away from the Red Shoes.
Oh my gosh.
That movie is all about production design.
Yeah. Any of those categories, the Red Shoes is a very atmospheric film. I would love to cover it one day on one of our podcasts because it's an odd one, but it is a strong film that totally belongs in that Best Picture group.
100%. And yeah, for again, films like this, Shakespearean epics always kill it with production design. So yeah, of course, it's going to take that over Johnny Belinda, which mainly takes place in one house.
Yeah, and Johnny Belinda, though, man, you talk about, like you said, takes place in one house. It's up for 12 Oscars. 12.
Yeah,
that's a different kind of league right there. We're talking about on the waterfront kind of numbers. Like whoa. That's a film we talked about how it just kind of wrecked those awards in 1955, and similar thing here with Johnny Belinda, just all over the board. Nominations everywhere, and it's a damn good movie. I understand.
Johnny Belinda actually holds the record still holds the record for the amount of Oscars lost.
Yes.
Lost 11 Oscars, won Best Actors for Jane Wyman.
Yeah, which pushes me to kind of want to do it next time we come to 1948.
It is a groundbreaking film, and we'll talk all about these films the further we get into the show.
Yes. Oh, indeed. Yeah, they'll just keep coming up as we keep moving along here because Hamlet is everywhere as well.
So it won costume design and art direction. Let's talk about one it didn't win. Best score, William Walton. And this, I believe, was separated too. They have best scoring of a dramatic or comedy picture and best scoring of a musical picture.
And they finally learned, hey, let's leave that shit to the Globes. Come on, guys.
Yeah, because, back in the day, musicals were all the rave. They were the big, profitable genre. Everybody saw musicals. You could take your kids to see musicals. And you can thank Hello, Dolly for killing that. We talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah,
so,
no kidding.
Best scoring of a dramatic or comedy picture, we have The Snake Pit by Alfred Newman, Johnny Belinda by Max Steiner, Joan of Arc by Hugo Friedhofer, Hamlet by William Walton, and the winner, The Red Shoes by Brian Easdale. And again, yeah, no one's taken that from The Red Shoes. The movie all about, built around music and ballet and just an operatic film. So there's no way that score was going to lose to anybody else. That was
Yeah. It's the Red Shoes through and through. Operatic, such a great word to use for that film. And it certainly is driving off of the vibe. And you texted me after you watched it, and you're like, it was a very serious, nice and simple text that just said, you're going to like that one. It was, and I kind of knew what I was going for. It was like definitely in my wheelhouse. Love the Red Shoes.
Wonderful film. That takes us to some big ones. We have Best Director, Laurence Olivier. Up against, we have Anatoly Litvak for The Snake Pit, Fred Zinnemann for The Search, Jean Negulsko for Johnny Belinda, and the winner, John Huston for Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yes. Oh, man. Come on. Yeah, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, to me, is, like a masterpiece. It's in itself. And then you look at how many films it's influenced. Shame on me for taking this long to see this one.
I know
it is like, oh, okay. Reservoir Dogs makes sense now. And I can't believe it took me this long. This is the one out of this group that I was like, oh boy, I need to own this. I want to watch this over and over. It's immediately something I would love, and I recommend to everybody is Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Well deserved, John Huston.
Yeah, I agree. That was that was kind of a no-brainer. That film is so well directed. It's such a masterpiece of suspense and character. It's that was his Oscar.
Yeah, man. We'll get even more into that one when we come up to Best Picture.
Yes, indeed. Then we have Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Gene Simmons, who played Ophelia. She was up against Agnes Moorehead for Johnny Belinda, Ellen Corby for I Remember Mama, Barbara Bel Geddes for I Remember Mama, and the winner, Claire Trevor for Key Largo. Key Largo is another one of those iconic 20th century films that I have just not gotten around to, regrettably.
Also Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
A good year.
Well, that's how the big dogs did it back then. They didn't dick around. They would make a couple films a year. Hitchcock is a guy we've talked about a lot. That's a man who had no problem trying to make as many films as he could in one decade. And it's just not that way anymore. You got to go through a lot more hoops to get what you want, and to make it exactly how you want your vision to come across. So I just, part of me wishes I would have been alive during these days,
Yeah. I mean, we look at a guy like John Huston who directed some incredible films that I had completely forgotten about. Like, he did The Maltese Falcon. I couldn't believe that. I mean, he worked with Bogey more than anybody. And, then ends up playing the bad guy in Chinatown. Like, what the fuck? Who was this guy? Guy was a fucking rock star. Best Supporting Actress, honestly, I don't really have a dog in this race because I have not seen Key Largo or I Remember Mama. I thought Agnes Moorehead was really good in Johnny Belinda. I don't know if it's Oscar-worthy performance. I can tell you Gene Simmons did not wow me as Ophelia. So
that's 100% over here. I'm with you on that one. It felt like she was on some kind of drug.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in the story. Oh, all right, let's be honest here. I have not read Hamlet. I did not.
Neither have I.
In my school career, I had to read Romeo and Juliet in 9th grade. And then in 12th grade, I had to read Macbeth and The Twelfth Night. And that is all. I got out of a Shakespeare class in college because the teacher seemed like a dick and I didn't want to deal with that. So, yeah, I don't really have a lot of Shakespeare background, but I think Eileen Hurley did a much better job as Gertrude, and I would have had her up if we're taken from Hamlet.
Okay, and did you realize that Hamlet's mom, that actress, is 29, and he was 40, and he was 42.
Okay, of course.
That's some weird Hollywood shit, and this is not a Hollywood production.
Well, and she's randomly giving him really long, awkward kisses. I know there's supposed to be some weird themes of incest in Hamlet. I don't know how deep those themes go because I'm not reading Hamlet. I don't care what podcast I'm on. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, just watch Lion King. They clean it up nice and neat, make it a good story.
Oh God. Let's take that all to Best Actor. Laurence Olivier, his only acting Oscar was for Hamlet. Amazingly, in his long career, this is the only Oscar he ever won. And it's not the movie I think he should have gotten it for. I think he 100% should have taken this for Rebecca.
Oh man, yeah, we talked about Rebecca last time we were in the 40s with the Great Dictator, and
I know I really rooted for Chaplin on that one, but things change, and I think maybe there could have been a tie because Olivier's performance in Rebecca is just so good.
Well, this is it, right? This is it. This is the interesting conversation when you really dig deep with the Oscars, and you're like, okay, Laurence Olivier, you just take him for what he is, right? But let's take a different actor. Let's go fucking Denzel Washington.
Okay.
So let's take Denzel Washington on paper. We look at all of his performances and we're like, oh, this one's his best. This one's his second best. This one's his third best. But then you add in, but all these other guys had these performances within that year.
Yeah.
And so you almost have to throw that out the window because we would know that. We talked about Robin Williams, 1989, going against Daniel Day-Lewis, 1989, Dead Poet Society, My Left Foot. Shit. Shit. You want Robin Williams to get that one. You want him to have that one, but come on. Like, DDL is on a different planet in that movie. And when that shit happens, it's really frustrating because you could take it just 1 year later and Robin Williams takes it instead of Kevin Costner. Stuff like that. And so it's really, really hard to swallow these things. But that's it with the Oscars, is you're taking into account years and multiple performances. And, personally, I think Denzel Washington's best performance is Training Day. So we're all good there. But there's definitely guys out there, actors and actresses, who seemingly have been robbed in certain years. Brad Pitt, Moneyball. Then you're like, oh, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like, yeah, but you don't want to play ifs, ands, and buts when you're talking about awards and giving out the best shit.
Yeah.
But it's all in context, and it's so difficult. That's such a good one with Laurence Olivier and Charlie Chaplin in 1940, because that's like you said. Could we give a tie? It's really, really that difficult. But this year, I just don't think Laurence Olivier, I'm not going to say the word deserved, but I don't think he earned it. I don't think he really, really earned this one.
It feels like a career Oscar, but his career had just kind of started.
Yeah.
It's almost like
yes.
They knew where this guy was going to go, so they're like, we better give him the gold.
Yes.
He's good in Hamlet, but he is not amazing. He's done better. I've seen him do better. And I don't understand the universal adoration of this film. It's not great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's frustrating. And this is going to come up, often. We're going to have these discussions of oh, he should have got it this year instead. And, then you look at the 5 and you're like, oh, fuck, maybe not. And it's really difficult. I'm a big believer that Joaquin Phoenix should have gotten his Oscar 7 years ago with The Master. But, you take what you can get. He got his win in the long run. He got his win.
Yeah. But, I look at an actor like Al Pacino. And
okay. He's perfect. He's perfect for this.
Godfather 2, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. And then they give it to him for Scent of a Woman. Is that really the film?
Later. Yeah.
Is that really the film where Al Pacino shined the most? I don't think so.
Yeah, and that sucks. That's the one, and when you look back, that's the one he won for, and you're like, really? Because on his IMDb page, these other 4 are ahead of it. You're like, yeah, because those are better.
This is the first episode in all of our podcast run on either show that, for me, honestly, felt like a homework assignment. It's just ugh. But you know what? We did it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And then, then we were rewarded with other great movies. And now we have, something like 6 reviews up just from the past few days from 1948.
Yeah.
And so if you want to go on the site and check those out, those are all up right now on the homepage even. So it's just cool to see that we're going in that direction where we're willing to kind of dive into a year, even if it's, 70 years ago.
Anything goes. Anything goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything goes, most certainly. And, listeners who have, been with us in this show or Filmgazm before, we're going to jump all over the place. You know that we had a blast doing Whiplash. We had a blast doing Dead Poets Society. We had a blast doing On the Waterfront. We had fun last week doing Little Miss Sunshine. And, with Hamlet, we went in blind. We knew that. We went in blind with all 5 of them. And the one I missed. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But under these circumstances and with this criteria of, hey, we're talking about Oscar nominated movies, this is one of those that I just don't think it really deserves that spot.
I agree.
It's a lot of hype. It's a lot of fluff to me, not a lot of actual stuff going on, a lot of confusion, not a lot of strong moments in the movie. So, that's just how it is, and the other 4 are really good.
Well, Laurence Olivier for Best Actor was up against Clifton Webb for Sitting Pretty, Dan Daly for When My Baby Smiles at Me, Montgomery Clift for The Search, and Lou Ayres for Johnny Belinda. How on God's green earth was Humphrey Bogart not up for The Treasure of the Sierra Madre?
This is, for us, one of the biggest snipes in Oscar history to not give him the win. Should have got the win, let alone a nomination. One of those, what the fuck are you doing? He's in the middle of his prime. What are you doing? The guy is an animal. We've watched him play this character that is not, a dickhead like this, and all of a sudden he's this major, major dickhead. And he's good at it, really good at it. And he's good looking, and he's a wonderful actor. He makes the other guys around him better. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Just give the man the gold. This is how I feel sometimes. Like, people try to, make it difficult, simplify it. He's got one of the best performances of that I've ever seen.
It is, yeah. The character of Fred C. Dobbs has such a wild journey in Sierra Madre, from kind of kind-hearted, down on his luck, worker who's looking for something, and he just evolves into this dark-hearted, distrustful monster who's willing to commit murder to protect what's his. Murder of a very close friend. It's amazing, this journey, and it all feels earned and it feels realistic. Like, this is what would happen if 2 guys who were kind of, friends, but not lifelong friends, stumbled into a massive fortune. There would be seeds of distrust, and it's played so well. And Bogey was shut out, and I don't know why. He was so good.
It makes no fucking sense, because you scroll down just a little bit here on Wikipedia and you see the best supporting actor group, and you see that Walter Huston, father of John Huston, wins because he's fucking great as Howard. He's great. Just the way he moves his eyes is like, oh man, this guy is in every scene. He's really locked in. But so is Bogey. What are we doing? It's one of those, man. It really is one of those, because we've seen enough to have this kind of sort of an opinion. But it doesn't really even matter in this case. If you watch this film, just The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, if you're to choose one from this year, that's the one I would suggest. I think it's a really strong film. I think it's important for people to see who like heist movies and, movies that deal with money and greed, and because it's so old, but it resonates so much with fans of those movies. And I really find it hard to believe that some guys were in a room and they were like, all right, yeah, Clifton Webb, Dan Daly, Montgomery Clift, Lou Ayres, and Laurence Olivier. Yeah, let's go with those 5. no one in the room was like, guys, bogey, what are we doing? Like, I find that hard to believe. It's pretty fucking frustrating. It makes me wonder, did he do something? did he do something to piss somebody off? Because I know from what I've read, on all accounts, Bogey was so proud of this performance and was so excited for when it came out in theaters, because he was telling people, oh my God, wait till you see my next picture, because I play a real piece of shit. And those kind of things, you want to hold on to, and you should be able to attach the Oscar gold to it. I definitely think that's my favorite movie from this year that we watched.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important quality a film can have is rewatchability. I think, and I would absolutely watch Treasure of the Sierra Madre again. I watched it 3 times, 4 times. This is a film I want to analyze. And
yes.
Hamlet, I could do without. I really have no intention on going back into that one.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to rewatch it, like, by choice. Yeah. But the other 4, especially Sierra Madre, I will rewatch.
And that takes us, I think that's a great segue into Best Picture.
Let's do it.
The winner was Hamlet, and then we have Johnny Belinda, The Red Shoes, The Snake Pit, and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. So let's take these films apart one at a time. So starting with Johnny Belinda, a film I was not expecting to be what it was. It's a film about that is considered the first film to deal openly with rape. Phenomenal performance from Jane Wyman, Lou Ayres. It's a dark film about a deaf-mute woman who is raped and becomes pregnant, and the town thinks that her only friend, this kind doctor, is responsible for it.
Yeah.
And she can't tell anybody who did it. And it's so heartbreaking at times. And it's a very mature film for 1948. I was not anticipating that level of realism and like progressive mentality for this film.
Yeah, don't you feel like some of the directors that we've talked about and that we like have watched this film? Or don't you feel that way, where you're kind of like, man, like the maturity of it, the tone of it, you feel like has lasted through film, through cinematic history.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful. That's 70 years of kind of resonating with audiences, that kind of atmosphere and that vibe. And like you said, when you're dealing with that kind of subject matter, I have so much respect for writers and directors and films in general that are willing to go there and tell those stories, because they do need to be told.
They do, and I'm amazed they were able to get away with that in 1948. This is the middle of the Hays Code.
Oh yes, it's 20 years prior to the Hays Code.
Yeah, amazing that this film made it through the censors, considering it's very obvious subject matter. I mean, they don't gloss around, like they don't dance around anything in this film.
No. Yeah. Sorry, 20 years prior to the Hays Code ending. So yeah, it's just fascinating that movie, it kind of existed when it did.
For sure. Oh, in fact, a lot of these films, like they seem timeless. Like they could have been made at any time.
Yes.
Hamlet is trapped in 1948, but the rest of these films are everywhere. It's amazing.
Hamlet's like, if you and I were like making our dodgeball teams and we're like, oh, I'll take Sierra Madre, I'll take Snake Pit, I'll take Red Shoes, oh, I'll take Johnny Belinda, and we're, shit. You can have him if you want.
Oh my God.
If you can have him. I mean, hey man, you want to keep score, Hamlet? Sorry.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hamlet's the one having lunch with the teacher. Anyway, after Johnny Belinda, we have The Red Shoes, I believe it's a British production.
Hamlet's the one that doesn't know if they can throw left-handed or right-handed yet. They're not sure. I do not like this film. What could have been if only we had known. We could have put a whole focus on that's
one
the
of these
game.
other films.
That's the game. Next week we'll have some more clarity. Yeah.
Next week we have a film we both know is already fantastic. So we're going in with guns blazing. And we'll talk
Stay
about
tuned. Yeah, stay tuned for that one.
The Red Shoes was a British production, so it was kind of exempt from the Hays Code. That was only on American films, because we've always been, back-ass words when it comes to art. And
still are in a lot of cases. Yeah,
it's a film about ballet, about the most prestigious ballet company in the world. And this up-and-coming dancer gets an opportunity to join them, but the guy who runs it is very demanding, controlling, and kind of nuts. And when she falls in love with the conductor, he makes her choose. Like, do you want to be a dancer or do you want to be in love? You can't have both. And she has to make a decision. And it's a very cinematic film, very gorgeous, very very big. It's a big film.
Yes, indeed. Do you think that Darren Aronofsky took a bit of influence for Black Swan?
Yes, all of these films were the primer for so much after it. It's really cool. You can see the influences in all of these films.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, Connor and I were kind of texting throughout the week about these films and just kind of like, man, this one's good. Oh, dude, you're going to love this one. Oh, shit. And it kind of felt that way with all four of these, minus, we're excluding Hamlet when we're talking about the good ones. And it was a really, really cool feeling because it felt like we were traveling back in time to the 21st Academy Awards, to 1948, and kind of, screening these movies for ourselves and figuring out why were these five nominated. And, to tell you the truth, that's our intentions. That's been our intentions the entire time. If we can see all the nominees, that's what we're going to try to do. Now, some years it'll get a little bit lengthier. It'll have, 9, 10 best picture, but we're going to do our best. We're going to do our best. And this week we saw the capability and we just fucking went for it, And I really like that kind of desire. We actually went ahead and finished it by renting The Snake Pit on Vudu.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all free.
No.
It's dedication, and that's the kind of dedication when you put that work in whatever you're doing. If you're trying to listen to a bunch of music or watch a bunch of movies or read a bunch of books, if you put your fucking net out there and be as open as you can, you're going to get back some fucking gold. You're going to get back some cool shit. And that's what we got this week. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And I think this week has been the best example of going in blind to an old year, not seeing any of these films prior to recording. And then bam, I love that.
It's an amazing feeling getting to discover new films that I'd never heard of or even considered, and now calling them some of the, best films I've ever seen. And there are some on here that are like, just damn. And The Snake Pit is one of those.
Yeah. And yeah, for you, I knew I could feel that. And for me, it's obviously Sierra Madre. Like I kid you not, after I watched it, I was just kind of like, it was one of those things where I just started laughing. I was like, Jesus, that was good. And I felt that way after listening to certain albums, or, I remember after I saw the last time I really felt this in the theater was after 2018's Halloween, where I was just like, oh my God, like, thank you, and you have that chilling, moment of like, art, thank you. And Sierra Madre did that to me. I knew it was one of PTA's, Paul Thomas Anderson's favorite movies of all time. So going into it, I was like, this is special, I want to watch this. And I can't believe it took me that long.
Me too. We had, my family owned that one on Blu-ray, so that was easy access. The Snake Pit was the only one that was difficult to get a hold of, but we found it for a $3 rental on Vudu, and it ended up being my favorite of the bunch. This movie, huge influence on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Unbelievably huge. Like if you're a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest fan, don't watch the new show Ratchet. Watch this movie.
Yeah, this is a film, another film that was the first to openly discuss mental illness and mental asylums in a way that had never been done before. The mental patients in this film, they're not played for laughs or played for scares. They're real people who are sick, and it's treated like that. The doctors here actually do want to help these people. And Our main character, Virginia, played amazingly by Olivia de Havilland. I think she should have taken Best Actress this year.
100%.
She is committed because she keeps blacking out moments of her life, and she can't understand like why her husband loves her. Something happened to her, and now she's very mentally ill, and the movie is her kind of journey to reclaim her sanity and discover why this happened to her. And it's a very restrained film. I was not expecting another like huge gem where I was like, this film is really being careful here. It's really doing a delicate job of telling this story. And I could not believe, again, the maturity of a film from 1948 dealing with this kind of subject matter. Damn.
Incredible. And you're 100% right. She should have gotten the gold here. I think this one's just as obvious as Bogey. Come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, although I'm not going to, Jane Wyman was really good in Johnny Belinda. I don't, discredit her. I think she deserved it, but
she's great. She's great.
Oh. And then that takes us to Treasure of the Sierra Madre, one of the most influential adventure films of all time. One of the big influences behind Indiana Jones.
Yes.
And this is a film about, greed and a lust for glory. It's, what's mine is mine, and goddamn anyone who tries to take it away from me. It's great. Man.
It's brilliant. The use of the Mexican standoff, right? A thing that we've seen in films literally thousands of times after 1948. The simple plot, device of using money, in this case gold, currency. It's so influential. Again, I can't believe it took me this long to see it. This is a movie I feel like I should have seen when I was like 14.
Do you know what
film? Because it's a palette. It's like a palette thing, where you're like, oh shit, okay, this makes sense.
A film that immediately came to mind at the end of Sierra Madre is The Killing.
Yes.
The whole idea of anything that can go wrong will, because of the distrust, and it had the exact same ending.
Exactly.
I couldn't believe it.
Yes, so you're thinking Stanley Kubrick likes this shit. You're like, oh man, this movie, it just hits hard, and I would venture to say it's a must-see for cinephiles.
I have a book that I refer to a lot, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die.
Yes.
I don't think it's the most recent edition. It's the 2014 edition, but it includes films from the beginning of film, like 1902 to 2014, 1001 films that these film critics say you need to see. And of this bunch, the only two in that book are The Red Shoes and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yeah. Those are my two favorite. Yeah. The Red Shoes, I also, just that atmosphere. When you're watching a 40s film, it does not feel this way. It's like, is this 70s or
the end of the film?
What's going on here?
the end of the film when what is his name? The guy who runs the Boris, right?
Yeah. Boris.
When he comes out, before they're going to perform The Red Shoes, and he says, it cannot go on tonight because there was an accident. Like the quiver in his voice of like, I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't expect that level of performance from films of this era. It doesn't happen very often. There's not a lot of,
man.
There are great performers from this era, but there's a level of commitment that I don't think existed in Hollywood until like the 70s. And you see glimpses of it prior to that. It's rare, but you do see it. And I saw it in The Red Shoes, and I saw it in Sierra Madre. I saw it in Johnny Belinda, and I saw it in The Snake Pit. And I did not fucking see it in Hamlet.
Yes, exactly. You talked about on previous episodes where some of these decades, 30s, 40s, 50s, even at times the 60s, you have just kind of like, all right, director, camera, actor, go.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case with this group. Not the case at all.
everyone was trying to break new ground here. Everyone wanted to make something important. And
Yeah,
that is a
and
great feeling.
yeah, and that's a great segue into just kind of talking about Hamlet here, is because those four films are doing that, and Laurence Olivier thought he was doing that.
Laurence Olivier was an amazing actor, but the man was pretentious. The man thought he was the greatest actor on the planet. And
Yeah.
just to put that in perspective, Hamlet is not the only Shakespeare film he brought to the big screen. He started in 1944 with Henry V, which he was also nominated for. Then it was Hamlet in 48. Then he did Richard III in 1955. And then in 1965, he did Othello in full blackface.
Yeah, fucker.
A film I'd like to do on this show just so I can see that fucking travesty.
Yes.
He had a cameo in 1968's Romeo and Juliet, the one we all had to watch in high school.
Terrible.
1973, he did The Merchant of Venice. And then in 1983, he did King Lear. So Shakespeare was his bread and butter. He was a English Shakespearean actor.
Yes,
and
proper holding the skull, all that shit. Yes.
Oh yeah. He was the man when it came to this kind of stuff, and he knew that, and he wanted to kind of bring this to Hollywood, and he did, and he was critically acclaimed for it. But this kind of stuff doesn't last. It doesn't have the same kind of legacy as the rest of these films. Hamlet is a movie or a story that's been adapted many times. And it was first written somewhere between 1599 and 1601 by William Shakespeare. It's his longest play. So the main theatrical releases of this film, there was the 1948 Laurence Olivier, that was the first. 1964, Grigory Kosinsev made a Russian adaptation of it. Then in 1969, Tony Richardson made one, a British film, the first color version. 1990, Franco Zeffirelli made one starring Mel Gibson as Hamlet, with Glenn Close, Alan Bates, and Helena Bonham Carter co-starring.
Yikes.
1996, Kenneth Branagh, kind of Olivier's spiritual successor, did a 4-hour version of Hamlet for the screen, adapting every single word of Shakespeare's play. Didn't leave a single thing out. Got all your Rosencrantz, all your Guildenstern, everything you need. 4 hours of Shakespeare. I might blow my fucking brains out. I don't think I could do it.
No, I am not willingly watching that movie.
No.
There's so many others that I rather tackle.
And then the most recent version, not counting The Lion King, is 2000's Hamlet, starring Ethan Hawke in a modern day setting, where he's a film student, and his uncle Claudius, played by Kyle MacLachlan, takes over the Denmark Corporation after he kills his brother. It just sounds so ridiculous.
Absurd.
Modern day Shakespeare. I don't understand.
Just leave it alone.
And we have mentioned The Lion King here a couple times. Might as well clear that up right now. So, unofficially, The Lion King's main inspiration is Hamlet. I mean, think about it. You've got, an evil brother murdering his king brother and then exiling the young cub who returns to finish his uncle and take his rightful place. And then actually, if you look at it, The Lion King 2 is Romeo and Juliet, and then The Lion King 1.5 is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. So,
yes,
whoever was making those movies was clearly a fan, and he had to, of course, kid it up. Can't have Simba, dying at the end of The Lion King. So, I don't know, just funny tidbits there. The Lion King is a film we will certainly be doing on Oscar Sunday at some point.
Oh yeah, of course. I think we've covered a bit on this show or at Filmgazm, whichever one it is. I'm not sure. It's that 90s run of animated movies from Disney is, kind of unprecedented.
Absolutely. I consider The Lion King to be their masterpiece.
It certainly is from a standpoint of changing the game up, and it comes right in the middle of the decade. I wouldn't call it my favorite of the 90s, but it's certainly the most important, I think.
Fair enough. And we'll have plenty of opportunities to go through, Disney films in the future. But right now, it is Shakespeare time. So put on your, I don't know, neck coif thing. I don't know what that's called. And let's buckle up. Hamlet has a IMDb score of 7.6 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 95%. Yeah. This is the consensus. A well-executed labor of love from star and director Laurence Olivier. Hamlet not only proved that Shakespeare could be successfully adapted to the big screen, it paved the way for further cinematic interpretations. And I agree with that. I agree with that consensus, but 95 I think is pretty steep.
Pretty?
Yeah. It's Mount Everest. It does not need to be that big.
95, I would have been, dancing my whole way home if I made a 95 back in high school. But we're talking about a score for a movie, and I just think that's kind of absurd. I think it's kind of like disrespecting the entire score system if a movie like this is a 95. I'm not trying to be extremely harsh on it. I'd be okay with like an 80, but 95 is kind of like for holy ground. You know what I mean?
You know what I think? And I think this happens a lot to a lot of classic films. Excuse me. Hamlet, I think, is one of those films that people are afraid to say is not very good. I think if you say Hamlet is a bad movie, you look like the dumb guy in the conversation. And I fucking hate that so much. There's no film you should be afraid of saying is a piece of shit.
Yeah, you can come right here and it's okay. This is the place.
Film is subjective. It's always going to be your opinion.
Yeah, Filmgazm Productions Oscar Sunday is the place to say what you want about the Oscar-nominated movies, and we think Hamlet is just not that great.
It's not.
And with that being said, we're going to do away with, plot synopsis on this show. We're not going to be going into the, Wikipedia plot synopsis or the IMDb plot synopsis too much. Instead, we felt like we'd kind of honor the Oscars and, make our own categories here for this specific film. Unfortunate that this is the first movie that we're doing it with, but
I was thinking that exact thing last night.
Also very fortunate that we are doing it for this one because we don't have to go through the entire plot.
Thank God, because, do you guys really want to hear us dissect the entire plot of Hamlet?
No, they don't. And I do think this is better for us, for the show, for the audience. I think it'll tighten up the show a bit, make it a little more concise. That might make the length a little shorter, but that's all right. The content will be better. So we have our own
quantity.
Exactly. And if you want more, just go listen to Filmgazm. Exactly. We have 4 categories. That's what we're going to start with here. If we feel like adding more as the show goes along, we will. But right now, these are the 4 we have: best scene, best performance, best music moment, and best line/quote. So let me clarify. This is only for Hamlet.
Yeah.
So every week, this will be just for the film we watched. Last week, we would have done Little Miss Sunshine. Connor could have picked whoever. Abigail Breslin is the best performance, and I could have said Toni Collette. Best scene, we could have, gone 2 different ways. And that's how we're going to kind of talk about the plot and the story a little bit through those awards. So I'm going to let you go first. We're going to start with best line.
Yeah.
We'll let you start it off, and I'll go second.
Okay, before that, I want to point out one last thing.
Of course.
Hamlet,
anything on Hamlet that you have, yes.
Hamlet had a budget of about £527,000.
Yes.
Production. It grossed in U.S. money $3.25 million.
Oh yeah, huge deal.
God damn it! Oh, okay. So I can't fucking believe that.
It even in the 60s, it even was played on American TV as this like 4-part thing where they like split it up, and they also did that with Kenneth Branagh's because that's like a TV movie, 4 hours. So no, thank you.
I'm so glad I got out of that Shakespeare class because in college I was an English major, so I had to have a single author focus class, but Shakespeare was the only one that Texas State offered at the time. So I was like, fuck. And this was the only guy who taught the Shakespeare class. And I had him one day and I'm like, fuck this. The guy was so pretentious. He ran the theater group. He ran like a Shakespearean theater group at the school. He literally referred to himself as an actor. He used that phrasing.
I am an actor.
Yeah. He said that like if anybody showed up late, he was going to drop like 10 points off their final grade. And I'm like, fuck that. Like, no way. So I hunted down an honors course on Dante and was like, all right, I'm getting in there. And I never looked back, and I'm very happy about that.
Thank God.
Yeah. The Dante class ended up being very fun, and I got to talk about how Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is basically Dante's Inferno with chocolate. Anyway. For best line, I chose the moment after Hamlet's father's ghost appears to him and tells him, Claudius killed me, so you deal with that. I'm paraphrasing. Anyway, but his friends are like, so what'd you see? And Hamlet's like, that's my business. don't speak to me. And he ends up, I think Horatio doesn't believe that there was a ghost. And Hamlet replies, quote, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And I thought that was very profound, and I really liked that line.
Quite poignant. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good one.
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it didn't happen, Horatio. So shut the fuck up.
Fucking Horatio. I always think of Horatio Sands anytime I hear that name.
I think of there was this Frasier episode where they befriended an old actor that they liked on who did Shakespeare, and he was so bad. Now that they realized, like as adults, they're like, "Oh my god, this guy sucks." And he's played by Sir Derek Jacobi, one of the most respected British actors ever. But his go-to would be his Hamlet, where he would go, "I die, Horatio," with such like drama. And I think of that. I thought of that the entire time I was watching this movie.
That's beautiful. I love it.
What was your best line?
Best line, this would be coming from Laurence Olivier, Hamlet. He's talking to his mother at one point early on in the film when he's very skeptical and starting to go mad. It's a quick line. It just made me laugh when he said it. It says, go, you question with a wicked tongue. And this is when they're going up the sort of staircase, which is really impressive. The way this place is set up, that production design is quite nice there. And that's when I looked up the age of the mother, and I was like, oh, the actress is 13 years younger than Laurence Olivier, yet she's supposed to be the mom. I thought that was really funny, and it caused me to go on the internet, and I got lost completely reading stuff about Hamlet, which I know now. I know more stuff about this movie than I want to because of that.
My God. All right, best line. So where do you want to go next?
Let's I think we should go in order of what seems to be most important. So like least important to most important.
Okay.
That's kind of how the Oscars does it, their show, right? So let's do best music moment next.
Okay. This was tough. I didn't find the score particularly compelling. I thought it was kind of basic.
Average.
But I really liked the finale when Hamlet's corpse is being escorted to wherever they're going to do. It looks like they're going to just toss him over the edge of the castle. That's probably not what happened, but the music in that scene is very dramatic. It kind of symbolizes like the journey. You can feel like hints of the score from the beginning and the middle, and now it's all kind of like combined into this epilogue. And I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah. I can't, disagree with you on that. That scene might come up again. I'll say the music moment that impacted me was got a little bit higher pitched tones is when Ophelia is floating down the river and about to die. Kind of reminded me a bit of like Rosemary's Baby, kind of like that. And I dig that for atmosphere. And there's a couple times where this movie does go there. William Walton's definitely a guy who knew what he was doing in this category when it came to music. But I agree with you. Overall, the score is pretty average and kind of, redundant. Again, with these period pieces, it feels like some of the stuff is very recycled and similar.
Honestly, I I don't really fault the movie with a lot of that. I think Hamlet, the story, could have been trimmed down. I mean, it feels like Shakespeare was getting paid by the word. I think, like, why would Hamlet host a fake play to guilt trip his uncle? Like, he murdered his brother. You think that a play is going to make him realize, like, oh, what have I done? Oh no, he's fully aware of what he did. He just doesn't give a fuck. And then
what
later,
have I done?
Yeah, and then later when Claudius is like praying and Hamlet's like, oh, he's alone, I'll do it now. But wait, he's praying, he'll get into heaven. I don't want that. What? If a murderer is praying, that does not mean they're just going to get into heaven if they get killed. That's not how it works. Ugh, there's so much that didn't need to go down. And I know I'm very much alone in that camp. If you love Hamlet, Shakespeare is God, and there's nothing I can do to change your mind. So that's just my ranting into the... What did I say a couple episodes ago on one of these shows? I'm like shooting a water gun into the ocean.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like again, making that argument.
But I'm with you. I mean, I don't feel in particular strong about any of that work and that kind of stuff. It's not up my alley. And, again, to bring up the other films we watched, they're fucking cool and they have this lasting effect. Like you brought up how they're timeless and they still resonate with audiences now and still influence movies now. That's so true. And, I could totally see myself, if I were, the age I am now in 1948, I could totally see myself having a movie poster of the Sierra Madre. Hell, I could see myself having one now, and that's like why you like movies. You want to like connect with a part of culture, and I don't, you don't, we don't here at Filmgazm really connect with the Shakespeare stuff. It's not really our bag. And, fair play, go for it. Of course, there are these stories that a lot of people aren't really attracted to. It's just not really for us. And it's definitely going to be a long time before we go back down the Shakespeare path here on Oscar Sunday.
See, that being said, I agree. I'm not that big on Shakespeare films, but I really do like Macbeth. I don't know why. I have a soft spot for that story.
It's fair.
I think it's, it's short, sweet, tells a great revenge thriller and just, people losing their fucking minds. I like that story. I've seen 2 different film versions of it. I'll probably see more. And, I'm sure at some point I'll seek out more Shakespeare films, but I want a break.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Like I said, yeah, we won't be doing a Shakespeare film for a long time on this show.
Oh, no. All right. What's up next?
Next up, let's talk about what we see as the best performance of Hamlet.
Well, I'm going to just... Olivier.
Me too. Yeah, let's not even get cute about this one. Sure. I just don't think anyone's really shining. Olivier has obviously the most lines, the most moments. Give it to him.
Although I did like seeing Peter Cushing as kind of a fop. That made me laugh.
That's fun. Yeah.
When he's just like, "Oh, sir, you've no idea what's going on here, sir." Like his weird.
Yes. Anthony Quayle is funny. Yeah, it's like an all-star, old school British cast, but there's no one really pops for me.
Apparently, Christopher Lee is in the background somewhere. I was reading that. He plays like one of the guards.
Yes.
Well, yeah, best performance, Olivier. I mean, nobody's really taken that away, and I would not say it's not Oscar worthy, but he's great when compared to pretty much everybody else in this movie.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we're doing here. And maybe next week it'll be a little more interesting. But
yes,
that brings us to our last little category here, and that would be best scene, best moment, whatever you want to call it. Explain to me and the audience, Connor, what you see as the most effective part of Hamlet.
For me, it's the final fight between Hamlet and what was it, Laertes?
Yeah, Laertes.
Yeah, this sword fight is very well choreographed.
Yes.
When you realize that Laertes' sword is poison tipped and Hamlet realizes he got scratched, and it's like, well, all bets are off. I'm stabbing my uncle. I like that he's like, fuck it, and leaps on the guy. Now, I liked that.
Well, yeah, because in these movies, when you're dealing with these these period pieces, it's like there's these unwritten rules that are so stupid and so dumb. Like, oh no 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 no, you can't do that. Only if this. And then yeah, it's cool to see Hamlet just kind of say, "Fuck the rule book. I got to do this before I die."
When Laertes is dying too, and he's like, "The king told me to do this," and when the king is stabbed, nobody helps him. In fact, all the royal guards aim their spears at the king. It's this moment of like, ultimate betrayal back at you. And it feels really good. It reminds me again of the Lion King when the hyenas turn on Scar. It's all, it's cyclical, and I like it. I like that.
Yeah. I dig that. I definitely think that's, the climax, and it's a good bit. And I would say my favorite would be something that's kind of leading up to that moment is when Hamlet is, talking to that guy who's digging the graves. I thought that was a really, really interesting bit because this guy doesn't know who he's talking to, doesn't know that he's Hamlet, and is explaining this stuff, and that's how Hamlet finds out about certain circumstances that have happened back at home because he's in exile. It's just an interesting moment, and I do think that part was done well. He's like holding the skull, Hamlet is, and that's classic, right? Classic cinema. And I would say, yeah, the two scenes we chose are the ones that I'll remember, but the film itself, not something I'd totally recommend unless you're a huge cinephile and you want to see all the Oscar movies.
It's a shame that it took 2.5 hours for us to find a scene that we were going to remember. Like, those are both towards the end of the film.
Oh yeah, no, those are definitely latter parts. I think the scene when he's on the ground and he's, his mom is starting to be like, oh my God, he's mad. I think that scene's decent. There's a couple scenes, with him and Horatio that are okay. But yeah, overall, there's nothing that's really. The Ophelia death scene is pretty good when she's floating down the river again. But yeah, altogether, it's not that great.
I like the scene where Hamlet was speaking to his father's ghost. I thought the sound design in that scene was very well done. It was Olivier.
And that's him. Yeah.
But it reminded me a lot of Hamlet's father's ghost's voice reminded me so much of Black Phillip at the end of The Witch.
Oh, yes.
It was this dark, barely speaking, dark, evil, dead voice. It was really cool.
Poisoned me. Yeah, it's great. I love that horror movies kind of, because they have no rules, they're allowed to take that shit from all kinds of genres. I love that.
That's why we have a whole podcast devoted to that genre.
Yeah, we talked about The Witch, a year ago?
Yeah,
Jesus.
that was an early episode.
Yeah, we did that right around the lighthouse. That's right.
Yeah. Well, did we go through all of the categories?
Those are the 4 categories we have for now. Of course, for this movie, it's unfortunate that we're starting on this one, but we didn't know that. And this is again, I want to bring up just that fact that this podcast is going to be willing to go to places that we haven't been before and are unfamiliar with, and occasionally it's not going to work out. Back on our, I believe, our 4th episode of this whole thing was In the Bedroom, and neither of us had seen that movie. And you're talking about 2001. Obviously, we could have chosen Fellowship of the Ring, a movie we both adore. We could have chosen Tenenbaums or this or that, but we chose a movie neither of us had seen, and we felt like kind of doing that again.
Yeah.
And of course, in hindsight, I wish we would have chosen Sierra Madre or The Snake Pit or fucking any of them, But that's not what happened. I chose the winner by default because I want to have some winners on here occasionally, because we like to mix it up. And next week we're going to be doing another winner next week, actually, now that I think about it. But that's okay because we're going 20 years after to the 60s. And I hope you're excited, man, because that group of films, 1967, we're talking about Bonnie and Clyde. We're talking about, what else is in there? Except for the one we're doing, of course.
Well, might as well come out and say it. Next week, You gave them the treasure map. You showed them where the X is. All we got to do is give them the fucking shovel.
What are the other three?
We're doing In the Heat of the Night next week. 1967 Best Picture winner. A film that explores the relationship between African Americans and the police in the South in the 60s.
Yep.
Very poignant film up against some hammers, Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, Dr. Dolittle, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah, so you got Sidney Poitier, just tearing it up that year. The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman, that's kind of like the one he's really remembered for when he was younger. Man, that is a jam-packed year, and we're going into that knowing what we're getting into because we both have seen In the Heat of the Night. We both really like it. I own it. I think it's just a spectacular movie. We're advancing 20 years here and going to 1967 where the Hays Code is just about to end.
Yeah.
And Bonnie and Clyde is really seen as one of those movies that changed the way things went. Like, all right, this is what's popular now, are these kind of like gritty, these are the movies for the youth, and it's changing everything. So I'm really excited to talk about 1967 and those films. But In the Heat of the Night is one we're going to base it around. And I anticipate that when we do these categories, Connor, that we're going to have a lot more to say.
Yes.
We're going to be a lot more excited about it. And that's just the way the fucking cookie crumbles sometimes. And I'm not going to guarantee that every film is going to be a knockout, but we're certainly going to throw those ones in there every now and again. And next week is one I can't wait for.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some episodes on the Filmgazm podcast that are fucking terrible movies that
Holy shit.
drew from the book or decided to do on a whim and ended up being shitty, but we did our best to try to, mold them into decent episodes. And we're going to do the same here.
Yeah, that's the whole goal. And, if there's Hamlet fans out there, I hope there's something that we said that they agree with. And I hope there's a way that they could, find a way to defend their movie because of what we said. I love that because there's certainly times when people talk about movies I love and I disagree with them, and it's just kind of combats me and makes me like the movie even more. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And with that, let's end the episode by going into what happened this week in film.
Yes, of course. We got to talk about how the Oscars are kind of, announcing some stuff. Apparently, what is it, 7 months from now, some shit like that, the awards will be?
Yeah. I'm hoping. Well, the way they're doing the Emmys is they're just doing it virtually. They sent everybody a camera. They're doing it virtually, and then they're going to mail them the award. And I'm okay with them doing the Oscars that way. I want an award show. I want categories. I want winners so we can add more to this show. I don't care how they do it. I just want them to do it.
Agreed. And that's something that I was reminded real quick that I'll say before you dive into the news is this podcast, we have talked a lot about films, where they should go. Yeah. And this might be a good segue into, maybe The Devil All the Time.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Connor and I watched that the night it came out. We both really liked it. We both give it a solid 8. It's just a movie worth watching for sure if you like that kind of a tale. It's very dark, very violent. And we were conflicted on should we put it on Filmgazm. But then we're missing the boat because, we'll have to do it in a couple weeks because of our schedule. Should we put it on Oscar Sunday? But we don't know if it's going to for sure be up for Oscars. And, and then I felt, kind of a revelation as far as this show itself, Oscar Sunday, will never do anything current from here on out.
Yeah.
Defy Bloods will be forever the only current movie that we ever do on this show because there's podcasts out there and there's, including us and people out there who write reviews and do that sort of thing. This show, Oscar Sunday, is going to be devoted to the past and devoted to history and doing exactly what we did this week. Diving into a year, not knowing shit about it, and coming up with some fucking gold, just like in the Sierra Madre. And that's what we're going to try to do every week for 1967. I'm hoping to find something new when I rewatch The Graduate, find something new when I rewatch Bonnie and Clyde, see Dr. Dolittle for the first time all the way through. These are the things that we're going to be doing throughout the week to bring you a show that's about 1967 and the heat of the night next week.
Yeah, well,
it's not really our place on this show to talk about what's happening currently, except for this bit, of course, where we just kind of give you some news. But we will never base an episode around a 2020 film or 2021 when that's happening. It has to be said and done.
However,
so for a 2020 movie to be up on this show, it needs to get some nominations in the spring.
yes.
And then next year, it would be up for contention to be on the show.
It needs
it needs at least one nomination for now. One day we might do like an episode on some snubs or some stuff like that. But for now, it's got to have that one nomination. And so far, Fight Club is like the winner of, hey, I only had one, but we had a great episode, had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah.
This might be a little bit, of rambling, but I want this to be a history lesson for Connor and I and for our listeners. And that's exclusively what it is. And I want the listeners to know that. And so communicating that for us, so we go through each week knowing which year we're in, and so our listeners can join us.
And once we get further into award season, we will spend some time on the show talking about the current race and some stuff that we think is going to be in contention. Once the nominees are out, we'll talk about that a lot. So we will not abandon the Oscar race that's current, but we will not do any episode focuses because, frankly, we don't know if we're going to be right. The Five Bloods might get completely shunned. We don't know. Devil All the Time, probably going to get shunned as well. So we don't want to, we don't want to be wrong.
Well, and it defeats the whole thing of, okay, here's 1948. It's set in stone. These things are written in history and time. We can go back and watch these 5 movies. Now, if we were to do the Trial of the Chicago 7 from Netflix next month, Aaron Sorkin's film, what's the other films we watch? It's not up against anything. Nothing's been said yet.
Yeah.
Of course we can talk about Aaron Sorkin for hours. Of course. That's easy. I love the man. We love the man. But we want to dedicate this to the past and history. And if the Trial of the Chicago 7 gets some nominations, next year I would love to do it on this show. But that's just not, this isn't a current show is the main thing. And neither is Filmgazm. Filmgazm's about honoring genre films from every decade.
Yeah.
And that, we want to stay dedicated to that.
With that, on the Filmgazm podcast, we will still be doing current films, but only horror. Only current horror films.
Well, yes, like we're doing Antebellum in a couple weeks?
Yeah.
That's a current one that people can be on the lookout for, and we're going to try to throw one out there because I know it's on VOD. Give people a couple weeks to watch it.
Yeah. So you can get your fix there. There's so many podcasts talking about current films. We don't want to be just another podcast. We want to have something different to say. So this is our way of doing that. Exactly.
And it differentiates for the audience. Now they know if they want something current, this is not the place to go.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you the ins and outs of the Oscar race right now every week. We're going to be talking about the past. So it's okay if you would rather listen to current stuff. There's just other podcasts to do that. We are dedicated to history.
Yeah. Well said. I'm glad we got that out of the way. That needed to be said. Yeah. I almost forgot about that.
Well, yeah, it's we're on episode 16. We're moving in that direction. That's what we want to do, is make this podcast kind of its own thing through and through.
Yes, indeed. So this week in film, we had the release of The Devil All the Time on Netflix on the 16th. We both watched it. It was very dark, amazingly dark. We won't spoil it here, but I thought the performances were great. And if we are talking possible Oscar contention, I would vote Best Supporting Actor for Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, it's like he can't do anything wrong right now. Robert Pattinson has put together the latter part of the decade, I would say, since The Rover and Good Time and whatnot, has put this kind of line of movies together now. When you kind of look at it on IMDb, you're like, hold on here. Is this guy the king right now? Is this guy?
He's about to be.
Is he the best guy, under 40 right now? Is he in that realm? I think he is. I really do. And when you watch him in The Devil All the Time, in particular, the scene when he, is confronted. I won't say any more. He's confronted, and he raises his voice to certain levels, and is doing things with there's a vein right here in his head, his forehead, that pops out. And you can't teach this shit, right? It's that's him. That's his fucking body. And it's eerie how similar he is to one of our favorites, Daniel Day-Lewis. The way he moves, just the kind of instant, he can instantly go cold, but he's also really, really charismatic. It's kind of hard to believe that guy exists. I'm so happy that he's playing Batman.
That scene where he's being confronted, he said something with some kind of southern twang that made me think this guy would make a fucking great Elvis.
He can make a great anything, Connor. He's he really has that gift, and he's kind of checking the boxes right now of working with different directors and kind of like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this weird horror movie, so all these people love me. In The Lighthouse, I'm gonna work with Eggers. I'm going to do The Rover, another A24. I'm going to do Good Time, another A24. I'm going to do The King on Netflix. I'm going to do Tenet. He's a genius. He's playing his career out like a goddamn genius. And I love him, man. I really, really hope the best for his career. And I think, obviously the Batman's going to be kind of like the staple. And people will finally really see what he's capable of. And so it makes me excited. And he's definitely a guy for me and for you right now that's one of the best performances of the year.
Well, I'd like to set the record straight on my thoughts on Pattinson, just so I can get this out in the air. Nobody's perfect. When it was announced that he was playing Batman, I was very disappointed. I thought that guy really, because I hadn't left Twilight, and a lot of people haven't yet. And then we went and saw The Lighthouse, and I thought, who the fuck is this guy? And now, since then, he's become one of my favorite actors working today, and I cannot wait to see him take on Batman. And I'm very happy I was able to escape that prejudice. And I think,
I'm happy. I'm happy too. I remember texting about when we found out, and I was like, "Just wait, buddy. He's got this odd gravitas that not a lot of people have.
True,
especially right now. There's not a lot of males to me that have that kind of, again, that Daniel Day-Lewis, that just kind of like in stride, I fit in every fucking movie because I'm that good.
Well, in the trailer that we got for the Batman, that movie is going to put him in a completely new spotlight that is finally going to kill Twilight. People are never going to see him as Edward again. They're going to see him as Batman. And I'm so excited for that. Yeah,
me too. And that's so true. And I can't deny that. For me, it's been a personal, fandom of, again, The Rover and Good Time in these movies. And even, I like Water for Elephants. I think he, aside from Twilight, has just been amazing in everything. Like amazing, not just good, but sometimes the best part of the movie. And when he does that over and over, I'm just sold. And whenever they made the call for Heath Ledger to play Joker, the backlash that they got was so fucking ridiculous and so annoying, because at the end of the day, it's a goddamn movie. And so when people did that with Robert Pattinson, I was like, you just wait, because we've done this before. We did this 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and we got gold. So let's trust them. What could be worse than what they've done the past 5-10 years? What could be worse than the Ben Affleck Batman movies? What could be worse? So I can't wait. And so when he's put into that light, I hope people do the work and watch the movies that really got him there.
Yeah.
And that I think at the top of that list, you got to watch The Lighthouse. He is on a different planet in that movie.
And then watch The Devil All the Time, because he delivers a fantastic, powerful, creepy, poignant performance. And I really hope he does get a nod, because he's the best part of this incredible ensemble. And I'm glad we decided to do it this way, because that's a good small discussion on a current movie that I think covers all the major points we really wanted to make.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely worthwhile, man. I would suggest that movie. It's when a movie that good and that different and that dark is on Netflix for free, you got to check it out.
Exactly. Moving on to other news. Regrettably, Candyman has been pushed to 2021. It's supposed to come out mid-October. They were not feeling it. They weren't confident. So now it's been pulled from the release schedule, and it doesn't really have a definitive date yet, which is really unfortunate. I'm hoping they just sell it to Netflix or Prime or somebody, because I really, really want to see Candyman.
God, no kidding. We want it real bad on Filmgazm. Yeah.
So one day we'll get to do that. We were planning on doing a Candyman episode to coincide with the release of that film, and we're going to hold that until we get to fucking see Candyman. So, yeah, if you want to hear us talk about the original one, you're going to have to wait a while. Next up, Lovecraft Country's Jonathan Majors has been cast in a major role in the upcoming Marvel film Ant-Man 3. According to many different sources, he's going to be playing the MCU villain Kang the Conqueror. Very big deal for Marvel fans.
Oh, yeah, this is super exciting. This guy is fantastic, and it's really, really cool to see that they're taking that part of the MCU seriously still with the Ant-Man stuff.
When, Kang was a character a lot of fans thought was going to succeed Thanos as the new big bad because he's as big a threat. He's basically a time-traveling warlord who wants to conquer all of time. And since the MCU has opened time travel with Avengers Endgame, pretty much anything goes at this point. So it's going to be exciting to see how the new Avengers, handles Kang. That's going to be sweet.
Yeah, dude, super exciting. And if anyone wants to watch Majors in a film, I would say check out The Last Black Man in San Francisco on Amazon Prime. One of the better movies from 2019. It's a good one.
Right on. And I really want to check out Lovecraft Country. I've heard really good things about that.
Of course, yeah. I think, that's something that we would both dig. It's kind of in our wheelhouse again,
Yeah, TV's it's hard to find time these days.
I really don't make time for it anymore. It really has to kind of grab my attention totally.
I know what you mean. And then we've got 3 trailers to talk about. We've got The Trial of the Chicago 7. Finally launched a trailer coming out on Netflix, I think, like mid-October.
Yeah, like October 16th, 17th. Yeah.
Looks fucking stellar. Incredible ensemble cast. Written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who is one of the best screenwriters in the business. And I think it looks great. I'm very excited about this. We were going to do this on Oscar Sunday prior to our change of heart, which I think is a good plan. But
it kind of sets a precedent of like, okay, well then you should do this. You should do this. And I certainly love Aaron Sorkin. Like I said earlier, we both do. Yes. And we're excited for this one. We'll have a review up. We will mention it on this show whenever we do watch it.
My God.
Just like we are for Dub all the time. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Can't wait for next month.
Look at this cast. Eddie Redmayne, Sacha Baron Cohen, Jeremy Strong, John Carroll Lynch, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Mark Rylance, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Frank Langella. Jesus.
Insane. Random, too.
Oh, I can't wait. And then a surprise film I had never heard of, The Father, dropped a trailer. Anthony Hopkins emerging as the front runner for next year's Best Actor, playing a elderly man suffering through dementia, and Olivia Colman plays his daughter trying to take care of him. Looks very heartbreaking and very interesting. I'm in.
Oh yeah, totally in. This is a movie definitely for me. I'm wicked excited and has kind of that Oscar stuff written all over it.
Be exciting to see Tony Hopps take home his second Oscar.
Hey, I hope so. 30 years later.
Although I still am very much rooting for Delroy Lindo. But this just proves that it's going to be a very interesting race. And then finally, and this came out of nowhere, but I'm very excited for this, The Wolf of Snow Hollow, the final film by the late Robert Forster. And basically just, small town law hunts a werewolf. couldn't be simpler. And I'm very excited. We're going to for sure be doing this on the Filmgazm podcast when it comes out.
What's the date of that again?
Wolf of Snow Hollow. Let's find out.
Because depending on that, I would like to maybe blow it out a little bit and do a little Robert Forster action and try to watch some films that he was in. Of course, Jackie Brown would be my favorite. Max Cherry is my favorite Tarantino character, and Forster's just the fucking man. He was a legend.
Currently has a release date of October 9th.
Cool. Okay.
So we'll try. If it's a theater release, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll do something, man. Love him. He's a lost legend.
Absolutely. That concludes this week in film. Next week we are doing In the Heat of the Night. Very excited. Going back to 67. And that's all I got. Anything else you want to add?
No, man. Yeah, last time the 60s happened, we talked about Dr. Strangelove. That was good heap of fun. So we're going from 64 to 67. Next time we're in the 60s. After that, it will be in the early 60s. So we're trying to jump around as much as we can, and we're gonna have a lot of fun next week. We're going into it knowing that we're gonna be watching some bangers. So I'm excited.
Me too. And on Filmgazm this week, we are doing the 1990 underrated horror classic, The Exorcist 3. Our first prequel. George C. Scott, Brad Dourif, Jason Miller are going to be a fun episode. That movie's fucking scary.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Yeah, fantastic. We got good stuff in the works. Good place for the show right now. Very.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got a 1990 movie, so we're going to be doing a 1990 draft we're going to do a tournament that I'm setting up. I think I'm going to really try to throw you off with the seeding on this one. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun, so bring your A game on that.
Fantastic. Can't wait. And tune into that on Wednesday. And as always, we'll see you next Sunday.